And I think that too many companies sort of forget that they initially started to solve a problem. Right? And maybe I'm just, naive. But I kind of feel that if you work on something to solve a problem, you'll have much better success than you would if you work on something just to make money from it.
Agreed.
The money will come if you're doing it for the right reasons. I think is the best way to put it, right? And so, if you're doing it for the right reasons, the money will come.
You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. Downloadable audio episodes can be found in the podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. We are locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie, Calls on Call Extraordinary Answering Service, as well as the Bold Business Book. And today we are welcoming / preparing to learn from Peter Shankman. Peter, I got to read this. You got a lot going on. We got a 6-time best-selling author, serial entrepreneur, and the founder, this is the most important part that I've found at least, of Help a Reporter Out. Also dubbed the world's most authentic marketing expert. So that's not something you get dubbed a lot or every day. So, Peter, how's it going today?
It's going well. I'd love to know who said that.
Yeah, who did say that? I don't know. It was in your bio, so I just figured somebody important did. Or somebody observant, we'll call them.
There you go.
Let's we got a lot of ground to cover, and I think we both have a little bit of ADHD, so let's roll with it here. Let's start out with the first business you started, because I mentioned in your bio that you had sold a couple businesses.
Yep.
I don't know how far back you want to go, but let's start.
So the first company I started in the late 90s, the mid 90s, I started my career I had one full-time job. I worked in America Online, and I helped start and launch the AOL newsroom back when AOL was the internet. I left AOL in the late 90s and launched a PR firm that focused on the .com world because the .coms were blowing up at that point. We had clients ranging from Napster to Juno to, really, staples of the .com world. Sold that in 2001. I saw the writing on the wall, knew that the sort of .com boom, had its limits. The goal was to take a year off. I booked a flight to Asia. Remember, I went to Tokyo, went to Hong Kong, went to Phuket, Thailand, and flew back to Tokyo. And I remember calling my mom from a payphone at the airport, and I said, I'm coming home. I said, it's in 3 weeks. I'm coming back to the city. I lived in New York City in a studio apartment. And my parents were like, why are you coming home? You're supposed to be gone for a week. I'm like, you never taught me how to relax. This is your fault. Like, hung up on them. But yeah, I realized I didn't really know how to relax. And so I came back and I started consulting for several years. Consulted for companies all around the globe, was traveling constantly. Loved being on a plane, just loved being on a plane, still do. And what wound up happening was I just created this huge, massive Rolodex. And that led to knowing a ton of people. When you're ADHD, you talk to everyone, right? Unless you fake your death, I'm going to know everything about you by the time we land if you're sitting next to me on a plane. And so I had this huge Rolodex, and it sort of came in handy. Reporters started calling me, hey, I'm working on a story about whatever. Who do you know? That led to Help a Reporter. Help a Reporter Out. I started in 2007, sold it in 2010.
Oh, wow.
And
3 years then. Okay.
Yeah, it was a 3-year exit, and it worked. It was pretty amazing. It changed my life when I sold it, and I learned a lot of lessons from that. I'm glad I sold it, but when you sell something that you've created, it's your legacy. What you did with it is your legacy, and it's hard to separate the part that you did from whatever the company who bought it does after you sold it. Right? And that's a hard lesson to learn because I sold it, and the company that bought it, I ran it for the first couple of years for them. And then I fulfilled my contract, and that was done. I walked away, and the company who acquired it kind of ran into the ground, and it the reputation that it had was destroyed.
Oh, is it still
And
going now?
so what happened was they eventually shut it down. And about 6 months ago or so, another company stepped in and bought the IP at, like, I guess, bargain basement prices, and they tried to relaunch it. I don't know how it's doing, but I wound up creating a new company that pretty much does the same thing,
Oh,
because I
nice.
got so frustrated with what they turned it into. I had no non compete. It was like 15 years later, so I'm like, I'm not going to let this happen. And so I relaunched it, and I created a new company. It's called Source of Sources, which is similar to what Help Reporter Out did. Is that we connect journalists with sources all over the world, and it's a free service. You sign up at sourceofsources.com. You get 2 emails a day from journalists with queries from the New York Times, Washington Post, USA Today, Newsweek, CNN, you name it. If you can answer any of the queries, if you have the expertise, you just reply directly to the journalist, and you get quoted in the media. And one of the things I learned is that you can't fake caring. The reason that Source of Sources is successful, we're at over 50,000 members in a year.
All right, this is journalists or
These are sources.
experts?
So any expert can join.
Okay.
And we have about a 79% open rate for each email.
Wow.
And that's 2 emails a day, 5 days a week. So that's pretty crazy. You can't fake caring. Other, I've heard through the grapevines, and there are so many grapevines, that Help Reporter and the other companies like them, there are a couple others that sort of sprung up over the years. They try to automate everything, and they fill out this form and it'll automatically go to all these experts. Well, SEO companies have long ago learned the value of a backlink, and hire these companies out of Bangladesh and Delhi and whatever to get as many backlinks as possible. But they do it, and they found these services, and so they use HARO, and they use the other services, and hit reporters with every reporter in there. They just harvest the email addresses and pitch them on everything, hoping for a backlink. Problem is that doesn't help the journalist or the source. So, and none of the companies are willing to sacrifice their subscriber numbers to get rid of these people, except me. I have culled close to 10,000 subscribers off my list. I've banned entire countries. You cannot sign up for Source of Sources if you are in India. You cannot sign up for Source of Sources if you are in Thailand. You cannot sign up for Source of Sources if you are in Vietnam. And the reason being is because that's where all the SEO farms are. And I have a business in Vietnam and I really want to subscribe. That's not fair. Well, life sucks sometimes. Get a VPN. Subscriptions cost $6 a month. Don't be cheap. So and that's sort of like my take on it. I'm not. If you don't care, I don't care what kind of business you run. If you don't care, you're not going to be able to run it as successfully as you could. And so Source is growing by leaps and bounds. We're supported by a small little text ad at the top of each email. It's going well, and I'm having fun with it. And I'm sure at some point we'll get acquired again. I'll start round 3, but who knows? And then I run a couple other companies as well. I'm co-founder of a company called Mental Capital Consulting. We help companies attract, hire, and retain neurodiverse employees. People with ADHD like myself, people with dyslexia, dyscalculia, any sort of neurodiversity, Asperger's, autism, etc. So our clients there are Morgan Stanley, Adobe, Google, small little companies, and we're having fun. I try to stay busy. I'm a single dad, so at the end of the day, I'm no matter no matter what kind of a day I have, I'm still the dad who's way too cringe and constantly embarrasses my 12-year-old daughter. So it's all good.
I love that you use the word cringe there. You got the nomenclature down, right?
Oh yeah, you know what I did once about a year ago? I asked ChatGPT to write a conversation for me, write my side of the conversation that would embarrass my daughter the most if I said it to her loudly outside of her school when all her friends were around. And so it did. And so I picked her up and I'm like, honey, how's the, it's like how was math? Was there Riz? And I used all the oh god, I used all the terms, and
Fire,
she
drip.
lasted about 15 seconds before I think she ran back into school. It was awesome.
I'm staying here. Oh, that's funny. Tell me, so you wrote a few books, and it looks. I think I saw 6. Tell me if that's the right number.
Yeah.
Okay. From the order that you wrote them, did they play off each other? Are they related to each other, or is it
So the
just where
first
you
one
went in
was
your life?
the first one was customer service. No, I lied. The first one was can we do that back in 2005? God, 20 years old this year, which was about what the hell was that about? That was about
PR stunts, right?
PR stunts, correct. And then the second one was new rules for customer service in a social enabled world. Um, the third was called Nice Companies Finish First, and it was the concept that um, you don't have to be sort of a dick in business to succeed. Um, Fourth one was Zombie Loyalists. That was the premise that you use rabid service, you use great service to create rabid fans, and creating rabid fans means they will go around and do all of your PR for you, right? Be slightly better than crap, which is what we expect, and they'll go out and tell the world how great you are. Fifth one is my favorite. It's Faster Than Normal, and Faster Than Normal has sort of become the Bible for ADHD, and the concept that ADHD is a gift, not a curse. I get an email through Instagram several days ago from someone overseas who said, "Dear sir, um, something along the lines of I am 23. I have not really had any focus or know what I want to do with my life. And in my country, if you're not working out of school, you're considered a failure. And I was very close to ending my life. And I found your book, and it changed a lot of things. And it really it was amazing. What happened here? There we go. You still there? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
So thought I lost you there. So yeah. So basically, I guess this book saved this guy's life. So I get emails all the time from people who say that the book has helped them, and it's in its 5th printing. So I'm guessing it's doing well. It's the only book out of all of them that I've actually made back my advance and gotten really decent royalties from. So it's nice.
Wow,
It's
that
nice,
alone is impressive.
right? Seriously.
Yeah.
And then I wrote a children's book last year called The Boy with the Faster Brain, which is also about um, uh, ADHD, but from a 10-year-old's perspective. I'm working on a female version, a girl's version right now called Jumping Jessa and the Quest to Sit Still, which is or the Quest to Pay Attention. I haven't decided yet, but that's my daughter. So yeah,
Right.
fun. We're having fun.
All right, that's cool. That's cool. Tell me, I want to talk about the PR stunts thing, because I guess even though the book is 20 years old, I imagine the premise applies today. Did you do some PR stunts, or this was?
So yeah, so my PR firm, the Geek Factory, when I ran it in the .com boom, we had tons and tons of PR stunts. We crashed the internet one night. We back when domain names cost $79 a piece, we came up with the idea that they shouldn't have to cost that much. We had a client who called Name Engine who wanted to charge $9 a domain name, and I said, well, why don't we just give them away free for an hour? Take the loss, but we get a ton of exposure. I mean, 700,000 people tried to access the server all at the same time. I remember we took down part of the Northeast of the internet.
Wow. All right.
Another time to promote our agency, we took 150 CEOs skydiving,
Nice.
which was amazing. And that was, there's a joke that you put 100 people in a room, you give them cocaine, and 99 of them will say, okay, that was fun, and they'll go on with their life. And one person will be like, I need more cocaine, and that was me with skydiving. So I have that was my first jump back in 2000. I now have over 500 jumps.
Holy cow! Okay, I
Oh,
remember seeing on your website an image of you skydiving.
yeah, I'm a licensed skydiver, chapter subchapter B or category B licensed skydiver, and with over 500 jumps. So yeah, it's be careful what you wish for. Um, what else? We used to do a ton of those stunts, and the nice thing about stunts are that they, when done, a stunt for the sake of a stunt is pointless, but a stunt done well can dominate the news cycle. The flip side is you got to be careful not to do it too well. We did some things where we accidentally shut down city streets. Not really what you want to be doing at 5:45 p.m. on a Thursday night on the west side, 2 blocks from Lincoln Tunnel. So, you gotta be aware. But there are tremendous benefits to PR stunts, assuming they're done well enough and done to, uh, like I said, a stunt for the sake of a stunt is pointless. We do a stunt to generate um, publicity and exposure about your company that keeps people talking. That works.
Yeah, it's a noisy environment as far as
Exactly.
billboards and social media and all this stuff goes.
And to make it fun. I stunts that just scream the name of the company in over and over in perpetuity don't do anything for me, right? But give me some. I remember there was a. I don't remember the name of the movie. This had to be like 18 years ago or something. There was a movie or TV show about a sheep. I don't think it did well, but
You're talking Shaun the Sheep or something more real?
no, I don't remember. I don't remember the name, but it was about a sheep, and so they turned Bryant Park into a sheep herding field, and they brought like 100 sheep into Bryant Park to graze, and it was just one of the coolest things you'd ever see. Like just sheep crossing Sixth Avenue. I mean, that was very cool. So things like that, I think are awesome.
Nice, nice. I get that. We did a stunt. I don't know if I call it a stunt. We just paid for it, and it turned into more of a stunt than I anticipated. The guy, one of the actors from Office Space, came to a local baseball game thing that we have, and so at the time I had a printer copier repair company, and so we had a whole printer smashing event after the baseball game. We did not foresee, like, I had goggles and gloves, and I was gonna have lines and stuff like that. It was gonna be all organized. This was at 10:30 at night when people are lit up after the baseball game. Might have even been a doubleheader. Anyways, people are drunk, and so no lines, and there were bats everywhere. And I'm coming back trying to wheel these machines onto the field,
Oh
and
my
it's
god.
it's chaos.
Yeah.
It's chaos. But it's almost it was so I'm gonna say near anarchy that there was no stopping it. You're just like, well, hope no one gets hurt.
I remember
And
they
yeah,
used to things like that. Again, you got to think through all the possibilities, even the most remote possibilities. What would happen if, and
right.
then plan for it.
Yeah, I remember after that was all done, we're cleaning up the pieces. I had this recycling company come and help us move the pieces. I felt bad because I don't think they knew the pieces were going to be that small. But anyways, we got that, and we're picking up pieces, really tiny pieces of glass and plastic off the tarp that they roll over the field. And the marketing manager is like, "That was really cool. We will never do that again." Like, all right,
Yep.
yeah, but I don't know. We got a little name branding out there, and it was a good time. And as far as I know, no one got hurt, so all in good fun.
So all a win. There you go.
Yeah. Tell me about the skydiving with 100 CEOs that had to be multiple planes.
It was, yeah. I mean, it took an entire day. I mean, we
Okay.
we basically planned for we brought picnic lunches and everything like that. But it was the premise that I said, what can we do to really get our agency on the map? I don't want to. I don't want to do like an all the open bar or any of that crap. Let's do something fun. And someone in my agency, I don't remember who, suggested skydiving, and I'm sitting there going, yeah, that works. And we rented school buses, and we just it was so chaotic. But I remember and the crazy thing was they all paid. Every single CEO that did it paid themselves, like paid to go. We didn't. It didn't cost us anything, and we had clients donating product, and we had T-shirts made, and We called it Web Dive 2000. It's actually, I think it was, I want to say July. I'll be damned. I think it was yesterday in the year 2000. It was July 20. I remember the T-shirt, July 22nd, 2000. Yeah, it was yesterday
Oh, that's
in the
funny.
year 2000. So 25. Jesus, 25 years ago. Oh my God. Um, but yeah, and so we all went out to Jersey and went skydiving, and it was amazing. It was awesome. Everyone lived. Everyone had a blast. It was crazy.
So the people that you invited, were they existing clients? Or these were potential
Some were
clients?
existing clients. Mostly, we just got news made. We had news about it, and once the news broke, everyone started talking about it. Once everyone started talking about it, people started showing up and saying, "I want to be in that. I want to be in that. I want to be in
Oh,
that."
I'm a CEO. I want to jump out of a plane. All right.
And yeah, and it was amazing how many CEOs wound up going, and so
Oh,
much
that's
fun.
awesome. All right. Did it turn into business?
It did. I remember we landed some clients. Where we get a huge story in the Silicon Valley Reporter and the New York Times and Business Week. It was crazy. A lot
All
of
right.
fun. A lot of fun.
Nice. Tell me a story about Help a Reporter Out. Because I actually used Help a Reporter Out. It's been a long time. But that's what was recognizable to me, I guess, with you and all that. So tell me about the initial idea.
Well, HARO came about because I like helping people and because I know everyone. I talk to everyone. And reporters would call me and they'd say, "Hey, I'm doing a story on blah blah blah. You know everyone. Who do you know who'd be good for this piece?" And I'd go through my Rolodex, and it started taking too long. Right? It would take way too long after, I'm doing a story on Nigerian farming. Okay, um, you know, 3 hours later, a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend knew someone who worked in soil recomposite at USC, right? And I'd get this, I'd figure out how to connect the two, and it was always like this. I'm like, there's got to be a better way to do this, and that's what led to HARO. And like I said, it was never about making money in the beginning; it was about helping people. And I think that too many companies sort of forget that they initially started to solve a problem. Right? And maybe I'm just naive, but I kind of feel that if you work on something to solve a problem, you'll have much better success than you would if you work on something just to make money from it.
Agreed.
The money will come um, if you're doing it for the right reasons. I think is the best way to put it, right? And so if you're doing it for the right reasons, the money will come. So for me, it was always about making sure that the people who I was helping saw the value in it, right? And it's one of those things where who wouldn't want to be on that list, right? It doesn't cost me anything, and if it gets me free press, great, right? But it was always about make sure you're playing by the rules, make sure you are, don't pitch off topic, don't, and again, I think that was kind of lost after I sold it. So for me, it's really just been about um, starting projects, whether it's Help Reporter or whether it was SOS as of now, or even Mental Capital, about starting projects that help people and that create um, environments where people can benefit.
All right. Tell me about the Help a Reporter Out. If memory serves, I don't think I paid. I don't like you guys
No, it
had
was
to give
free.
money to pay for the service. So how did
No, it
that
was
work?
entirely free.
Okay.
And it's source is entirely free. That's the whole goal.
Okay. So you make money on volume, or how do you?
No, we sell advertisements at the top of each email. There
Okay.
is a small little text ad about 4 lines, and the average price for an ad uh, pays for itself in about 5 emails. So that is a lot of there's a lot of value there, and the reason that the ads can sell for what they sell for is because, like I said, we have a 79% open rate on each email, and the reason we have a 79% open rate on each email is because the day you don't read the SOS, the Wall Street Journal is in there doing a story about your industry, and you missed it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Right? It
So
takes
you're
10
putting
seconds
out there.
it takes 10 seconds to scan each email. You do it, move on with your day. But on the day there's something you can get, it pays for itself in spades.
Yeah, I remember opening up the HARO emails not necessarily to pitch anything, but more to see what was going on in the world that people were looking for speakers on. It was very interesting from that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
We did pitch a few things, but it was also interesting just to see what are journalists looking for. It was not often printer repair at the time, so that's all good.
Understandably so. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Still nothing but crickets here. Have to sell a newspaper on that one. Tell me about. You also have a book on. Is it a book or presentation? Maybe on nice companies. Nice companies finish
Yeah.
first.
Nice Company Finish First was a book, and the premise there again was just uh, employees that invest in their customers, employees that invest in their employees, companies that invest in their employees tend to do better. Um, it takes every single employee to keep your company running smoothly. It takes one employee to fuck it up forever,
True
right?
story. Yeah.
Um, I remember it was used to be a huge Hertz loyalist, and one day I landed in Phoenix. And went to the Hertz counter. There's like a 2 hour line, and I go down to the gold counter because I'm a gold member. And like 45-minute line there, so I'm waiting there, and my name's out on the board. And I finally get to the front, only to hear them say, "Okay, we only have one person. You all need to go upstairs to the main counter." Okay. Back to the main counter again. 2 hour line. I'm waiting in it the whole time. Hertz is ignoring my texts, my tweets, my posts, everything. I finally get up there and to the counter, and they look me up and they go, "Oh, you're a gold member." I'm like, "Yes." Great, you have to go downstairs. I'm like, "Okay." And they literally they wouldn't take no for an answer. They nexted me. It's like next. I'm like, no, okay. So in Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport, all the rental counters are in the same location off site. So I walked 50 feet from the cesspool of evil that was Hertz to the Zen garden of peace and tranquility that was Avis, and they had me in a nicer car for a cheaper rate, and the woman behind the counter smiled at me.
Ah,
Um,
the bar is that low that if they
I really,
smile,
it's
oh,
the bar is so incredibly low that anyone can get better. Yet most companies are down there limbo dancing with the devil, right? It's amazing how low the bar is. So my premise has always been that I don't need a company to be amazing. I need a company to suck slightly less than everyone else. And if they do that, I will probably follow them to the ends of the earth. I just need them to suck slightly less than everyone else.
and that bar is barely above ground.
Oh, it's incredible. It's
Yeah,
incredible how low it is. It's a tripping hazard in hell.
fair. Yeah, it's interesting. I can tell you a really quick story. I just switched insurance companies to Allstate. Allstate took a picture. Somebody from the company came to my backyard, took a picture, and they said, "We're going to cancel your homeowner's insurance because you have a tree that's taller than your roof." And I'm like, I think most trees are taller than my roof. So I called Allstate and I got passed down from Indian person to Brazilian person to somebody in Colombia to. Anyways, after 5 or 6 times of giving my name and policy number, anything, I end up with a guy that's actually a licensed insurance guy. And he's like, "Yeah, the notes are only that there's a tree. We have like 30 trees on our property. We have a tree that's taller than your roof." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll call an arborist because I want to have insurance. Like, which tree and how low does it have to be?" "Yeah, we don't have any of those notes." So I call up an arborist and they're like, "Yeah, this is a thing. Do you know which tree?" And I'm like, "I don't." And so she tried to reach out to Allstate, had no success. And I'm like, I'm working really hard trying to be a client of Allstate. Screw this. I just got a different insurance company. And it was easier. So when I canceled Allstate, there was no question of like, "Hey, why are you canceling after 5 days?" or whatever.
Yeah,
There's
they
no
didn't try to
interest
save you.
by them. There's zero care.
Yeah, they didn't try to save
Zero
you.
care.
And that's
So
the amazing part. It's I've had situations where I'm like, look, I'm trying to keep myself as a customer for you guys, and you're not making it easy.
mhm.
That's the killer part. You're not making it easy for me to stay here.
It's weird. It's one of those like you need people like me more than I need you because there's
Absolutely.
plenty of competition.
Absolutely.
And if you go away, another insurance company is just going to take your place. So I don't know. It's an interesting concept because me as a business owner, I imagine you as well, we would never dream of treating clients like that.
No,
Even people that are not clients, I wouldn't treat like that.
100%.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Tell me a story about selling a biz. You have sold a few businesses, it sounds like.
Every company I've sold, the buyer has come to me.
Okay, that was the next question. That was the
Yeah.
next question. If you had to market it or push it, or if they
No, the
reached out
buyers
to
always
you.
come to me, and it's very funny. I don't. I'm not a fan of sales. I don't like sales. I don't like selling. Um, None of that. So uh, when the companies come to me and say, "Hey, we love what you built. We'd like to acquire it," it's a lot easier.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell me, so the companies that you've sold, the big part is how do you price it and how do you exchange that money and what do you have to do once that money's exchanged? You have to stay on or all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
So when I sold HARO, I stayed on for a couple of years. As I became one of their like chief, I think a chief evangelist or something like that. Small business evangelist for them, and I helped grow. And the funny thing is that I've never really played well with others. I work very well on my own, and so it was a lot easier to go out on my own. And uh, when I sold the company, you have that 2 year earn out. And I wasn't itching to get out per se, but I knew it was time. And the funny thing is that the company I sold HARO to, they eventually got acquired by private equity. And
Oh, okay.
nothing good happens to a company that gets acquired by private equity. Red Lobster didn't go bankrupt because people were eating too much shrimp. They went bankrupt because they got acquired by private equity. Malls didn't fail because of Amazon. Malls failed because they all got acquired by private equity. My doggy daycare place where I bring this rescue mutt sitting on the couch, taking up the entire couch next to me, um, they're going to hell, and I'm going to have to switch soon because they got acquired by private equity. It is probably the worst evil on the planet, and so if you see that coming down the pike, and a private equity comes to you and says, "Hey, we can make you very rich," know that you're going to be rich at the expense of your legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And look, if that is something you're cool with, go for it. But you have to ask yourself.
Yeah, what is that? Is that are you going to be proud of seeing that? Like, hey, I started that.
Exactly.
We'll still
And that's the thing. It's like HARO is an entirely new world now. HARO is a competitor of mine now.
all right. Well, maybe it's a good thing that they kind of dropped the ball. Then makes it easier to compete with.
Yeah, very true.
Or I guess it opened up the door for you to compete because if they stepped it up,
Well, I certainly wouldn't have recreated what I built had they not screwed it up in the first place.
right. So those couple of years where you were on after you sold it, did you see things going downhill and you
I
weren't
saw
in a
things
position to
start.
do
Yeah, I
so?
mean, also you got to realize you're used to running a company where the decisions are all made by you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And all of a sudden, they're not. All of a sudden, you have to go up a flagpole and a decision tree. That's kind of annoying. So, selling a company, look, it has its pluses and minuses. I'm doing this interview from the 60th floor of a high rise in Midtown Manhattan, 2 blocks from the Hudson River, 2 blocks from Times Square. I live here; it's my apartment, and selling my company got me this. But there's cost to it. There's cost to everything.
Yeah, fair, fair. How did you end up figuring out how to price something like that? Talking about nationally known web-based company. Overhead, I'm going to dare say, is relatively low because it's software.
A lot of times, it's the company buying you will come with their terms, and you can argue with them. For me, it was I think they came at like 2.5 times revenue or something like that.
Okay. Okay.
And you go back and forth and you come up with a number,
Yeah.
and it works.
Okay. Was there much negotiating for HARO
There was
specifically?
some. There
Okay.
was some. There were a couple of things I wanted, a couple of things they wanted. It wasn't that difficult. It wasn't, it wasn't um, it wasn't like I was selling a multi-billion-dollar logistics company with with equipment, with planes, with whatever. It was
Yeah.
the majority of what I was selling was the IP.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. That's what that makes it more challenging to price, I imagine. Or if you're selling a jet, you're like, hey, this is a whatever 1992 jet. We know roughly what they go for on the market. Or something like this, where it's more IP, it's a different game because you're essentially selling and they're buying pie in the sky.
Yep.
So it's always interesting to me here, like, how did you guys come up with a number? How much negotiating back and forth was there? And what were the little parts of the contract that maybe weren't necessarily dollars and cents, but something like your time or their time or the odd nuances that every business acquisition has.
Always. Yep.
Yeah. The other companies that you sold, was it essentially the same thing? People
The
came to
PR,
you and
yeah,
said,
one was a
hey,
PR firm, and that was just a multiple of the revenue of the clients.
okay,
So it's again, I think it'd be a little different if I ran a shipping company or something.
right. This is how much boats are. This is how much pallets are. Yeah.
Exactly.
Rinse, repeat. All right. You had, let's shift gears here. You had, what do we got here? 3-minute rule for smarter networking. Let's shift into that.
Yeah, my basic premise of networking is that talk to everyone. Um, Talking to whether it's the person on the plane next to you or the person waiting in line, or the person at the deli, whoever you're happen to be next to, strike up a conversation. Worst case scenario, they don't want to talk to you, so you won't. Um, but you never know what you're going to get, right? I've met some of the most incredible people. I still have friends that I made, God knows how many years ago, um, that I met in the most random of places. Remember, I met someone. I let him share my newspaper over our heads in a out of the blue thunderstorm as we were crossing the street in Los Angeles. And I still talk to the guy.
Oh,
It
fun.
really it comes down to uh, what's the worst that can happen. And my belief is that if it doesn't create an international incident, if it doesn't wind you up in jail, there's no reason not to do it.
Fair. I can remember my wife and kid and I go out for breakfast. This was years ago. Breakfast place is pretty busy, but they had room at the kind of bar sitting at this little cafe. And so it was me, my kid, and my wife, and I'm sitting next to this guy. And I just said, hey man, how's it going? We end up in a conversation because my kid was doing something with the menu with my wife. And my kid is just amazed. He's 4 or 5 years old at the time. And he's like, who is that guy, Dad? And I'm like, I don't know. I just met him. I think his name is Steve or something like that. And like, what do you mean you just met him? Like, you don't know him? Like, no, he's just some guy. And I was trying to teach my kid that you can talk to people. I mean, it's cautious because this is a little guy.
Of course, right?
But in the end, most people, generally speaking, are pretty nice. And a lot of times people are just lonely. And if they show that if you're nice to them, you can get a conversation. It doesn't have to be earth shattering or anything like that. But I don't
I
even
always find
remember
it.
what we talked about. But
My daughter a lot always, we'll be in an elevator or something, and someone will be there, and I'll start having a conversation with them. And my daughter's, like, Dad, you don't have to talk to everyone. I'm like, no, you do.
it's just being nice.
Exactly.
And for me, at least personally, it beats the awkward silence.
100%.
If you got to ride up 50 floors with one person in the elevator, it's just going to get creepy unless you say, hey, man, how's it going? I'm
Absolutely.
acknowledging you as a human.
Yep. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, so all good. Tell me next, we'll shift gears into the faster brain.
So I've been neurodiverse, obviously, my entire life. I wasn't diagnosed until my late 30s. And when I was, it was a game changer because all of a sudden, everything started making sense, right? All of a sudden, I started understanding why I am the way I am, why I do the things I do, why I'm as annoying as I am, and it sort of led to this whole rebirth that what I am is actually okay, and it's okay to be weird. It's okay to be different. It's okay to be whatever. Um, but and it not only is it okay, but it actually can benefit you as long as you know how to use it to your advantage. So for me, it was really about learning what my brain could do, learning what I had to do to keep my brain in the best possible shape. In other words, it takes very little for me to sort of I'm three bad decisions in a row away from having a really, really bad day, week, month, year, whatever. So it comes down to understanding how your brain works and um, not putting yourself in situations where you will go down one of those paths. It's about seeing things in advance.
So more anticipation rather than reaction.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so
So
it's knowing. It's quite. I have friends. A couple of my friends have been in AA, and they have a term there called playing the tape forward.
okay.
And the premise behind that is that you um, ask yourself, what is this decision going to do for me in 12 hours? How am I going to be in 12 hours from this decision right now? And if the answer to that, more often than not, the answer to that is not good.
Mm.
Right. So, yeah, I could sleep in and not get on the bike and work out in the morning, tomorrow morning. But, well, now I've slept in. You know what? I kind of ruined the day. I'll just order some breakfast. I'm not really feeling it. Well, now I ordered some crappy food. Well, the day's shot. I might as well have a pizza for dinner. Well, I did. Now it's 3 days later. I haven't exercised. I've eaten like shit. You know, what's the point? It's easier to not go there to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Get up and get on the bike. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. You'll maintain the trajectory that you're on. So you want to keep making sure that you're on a good trajectory.
100%.
Yeah. Fair. Totally fair. I can tell there's little things with me. I know that I hate getting stuck in traffic. So I'll rather drive at 4 in the morning if I have a long drive
Yeah,
than drive at 4 in the afternoon, because I know 4 in the afternoon I'm going to have to deal with every camper and boat that was ever manufactured. 4 in the morning, most of those are put away.
absolutely.
So yeah, I get it. Just understanding where your comfort zones are and setting your schedule accordingly.
Yeah,
That's fair.
not rocket science.
No, no, not at all. What are you up to currently? Is source what was it? Source on source or
Source of sources.
source of sources? Is that still going?
It's every day. Yeah,
Okay.
it's
All right.
it's what I currently run. Yeah,
Right
so
on.
currently running it. It's doing very well. We're at about 50,000 members and growing.
Nice.
2 emails every day, 79% open rate. Advertising sold out through the fall. So yeah, that's going exceptionally well. I'm also still running Mental Capital Consulting. I am. What else am I doing? Still writing. I'm still a talking head on the news networks. Staying busy.
All right. Tell me about the talking head on the news networks. What are you talking about typically?
Usually marketing, crisis management, people being stupid.
Okay.
Um, it varies.
Common theme these days.
Well,
Okay.
it's funny. I don't do it as much because people being stupid doesn't really make as much news as it used to.
It's not as rare.
No, I mean I remember back when during Trump's first run for his first term, I was on TV every day because every day he'd do something stupid. Now that's just called Tuesday,
Yeah.
right? We don't care that much anymore, which is really sad. I mean, it really it shouldn't be, right? We shouldn't be in a world where we accept stupidity as the norm, but for some reason here we are, which is
I was joking with a buddy of mine that I'm like, I miss slow news days.
Oh, absolutely. Not every goddamn day needs to be unprecedented.
Yeah, but that's the world we're in. Oh, so I love it or hate it. Yeah, tell me, do the networks reach out to you, or do you try to
Yeah.
stay in front of them?
Once you wind up going on once or twice, they tend to know who you are and they like you and they start calling you.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Now, I imagine that's all remote, or are they having you go on site?
No, I'm 8 blocks from CNN's global headquarters.
Oh, well, there you go. That works out well.
Well, the New York headquarters anyway. They're based in Atlanta, but yeah, and MSNBC is right across the street as well. So CBS is right up the street. Um, although CBS is kind of on my shit list right now.
All right. Fair. They're making some bad decisions. That's fair to
Indeed.
say.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's an interesting chess game, I guess, as far as that goes, for better or worse.
I don't think they're even remotely playing chess.
All right.
But
Fair.
what are you going to do?
I watch and see, watch and learn.
I guess.
Yeah. Hope we don't end up in a mushroom cloud, I guess. Is the thing. I just was at a conference in D.C. having nothing to do with government stuff. It was a veterinary conference. And the joke with my buddies was that would be a targeted city if any other country in the world was not very pleased with us. And I don't think we're doing a great job.
Nice thing about living 2 blocks from Times Square is that, if it ever happens,
Probably the same thing.
Super quick.
Arguably worse, right?
Wouldn't have to worry about anything. Super fast and we're done.
Yeah. Where I live in Madison, Wisconsin, I think if we got hit, I don't even know if it'd make the news. So there's comfort in that.
Funny.
A little bit. Anyways. Peter, I appreciate your time here. Where can people find your books?
Yeah, so my entire world is at Shankman.com is everything. You can find me at Shankman.com. You can find me at sourceofsources.com. I'm at Peter Shankman on all the socials except for Twitter. I won't use Twitter, which is a bummer because I used to love Twitter. And then books are everywhere. Amazon, anywhere you buy books.
All right. Fair enough. And then if people want to get on the Source of Sources list,
sourceofsources.com.
All right. Easy enough. Sign up there. I do want to ask you a really quick question before we go, because this is always one of those things that I'm like, how do they do that? Source of Sources, as an example, or HARO, you have the journalists and you have the people that want to supply information, the experts in whatever field, to supply information for the journalists. That's a chicken and egg scenario. Where do you start?
I mean, the best answer I can give you is I rephrase the question. Do you mean where do you start building something like that, or?
Yeah. So you have to get a handful of journalists in order to have
Right.
experts to find the journalists.
Right. I know a lot of journalists just from being a publicist,
Okay.
and then from that I know a lot of people on TV. I know a lot of and it over time it just worked.
Okay. So it's essentially it helps.
It's all about right. It's all about who you wind up working with, who you know, and trust.
Got it. Fair. Do you feel like you'll be selling or bowing out of Source of Sources anytime soon?
I don't think so. I enjoy running it. I think for now I'm going to stick with it.
All right. That's the important part. As long as you have fun with it,
Exactly.
keep rolling.
Exactly.
Cool. Well, Peter, I appreciate you being on the show.
It was my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. My name is James Kateman, and Authentic Business Adventures is brought to you by Calls on Call, offering call answering and receptionist services for service businesses across the country on the web at callsoncall.com, as well as the Bold Business Book, a book for the entrepreneur in all of us, available wherever fine books are sold. If you're listening or watching this on the web, if you could do us a huge favor, give it the big old thumbs up, subscribe, and of course, share it with your entrepreneurial friends, especially those friends that may be experts, and they can share their expertise with journalists on Source of Sources. We'd like to thank you, our wonderful listeners, as well as our guest, Peter Shankman, 6-time best-selling author, serial entrepreneur, founder of Help a Reporter Out, as well as Source of Sources, and dubbed the world's most authentic marketing expert. Peter, thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure. Great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Past episodes can be found morning, noon, and night at the podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week. I want you to stay awesome. And if you do nothing else, enjoy your business.